Welcome back, everybody. We've got a returning guest for y'all today, a very special returning guest. Everybody, welcome back to the show, David Whalen. Welcome back, David.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you having me on again. I was excited when I was able to reach out to you guys, and you were nice enough to be able to have me return.
Oh wow, he describes this as nice. Well, that's good. I mean, that's we haven't got a compliment like that in a while, so I'll take that one. Yeah.
I'm glad to hand them out.
No, but we always love to have guests back, and thanks for reaching out, man. That means we did something right the first time, I guess. And
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I hope everything's going well with Offspring. I mean, we talked about that the first time, and where you wanted to go with the story. So obviously, you're taking it places. I mean, it's ongoing now, and issue 14 coming out soon, right? So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have issue 14 coming out at the end of this month, January 27th, I believe, is the last Wednesday of the month, right? This starts off, issue 14 starts off season 2.
Oh, okay.
So issues 1 through 13 out and ready to go. I have the trade volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the trades, collecting all those, and I plan on getting a big omnibus of issues 1 through 13 ready to go. I'm hoping before summer. Be able to have the whole collected first season. I'm calling seasons. First season, issue 1 through 13. And issue 14, when issue 13 finishes off, a whole bunch of questions are answered, but then more questions are asked. So issue 14 really starts off with a brand new kind of adventure that these kids have never dealt with before. I always wanted to, when I conceptualized this idea of these three kids who clearly have superpowers for a reason, clearly going through issues of their own, I knew I wanted to have them time travel at one point. So this starts off the time travel adventure, which will continue to be a theme throughout season 2 of time traveling to different eras, different places, to be able to find a friend that has been lost, that they did not know about until the last 3 issues story arc of issues 11, 12, and 13. So it's they're on a quest, and they start off by time traveling into the Civil War. And it does not start off well for them, as you would probably guess. And I'm finishing up issue 14 now. I have a great colorist, Chris McGauley, who has done work with the James Bond series, the Dracula series, done work at Boom and Marvel and DC and a whole bunch of other indie comics places. And the colors in the pages that he is churning out for issue 14 look amazing. I really think it takes the Offspring to the next level. I can't wait for people to see it.
So for anyone out there that didn't listen to the last interview, and if you didn't, go back and listen to it because it was awesome. What is the Offspring? Just real quick.
Yeah, it is 20-somethings. They all abused physically, mentally, emotionally as children, and how they were abused translated for them into superpowers. So one of them was physically and mentally abused by her father, so she developed a force shield around herself to be able to not have people touch her. Another of the Vince, another of the characters, his mother would constantly scold him with hot water. So now he developed the power to be able to control the water in his body, so that if he was with on him, he could throw it back at his mom. And those are all those answers throughout the series. Issues 1 through 6 is really where we dive into the whys and the hows of their superpowers. And we come to find out through the first season that these 3 main characters are the link to the beginning of the universe. And they were actually the start of the universe, and they realize that they're missing one of their members. So it's like I said, issue 11, 12, and 13 really start off a whole different. If you think at first it's very grounded, down to earth. These kids have a lot of physical and emotional problems, and then it blows up into that they could never conceive of, which are these big, grandiose, universal that they never thought they'd ever have to worry about in their lives. So once those beings, those godlike beings, start to reveal themselves to them, they start to realize that they have a bigger role in their lives than just not being the biggest jerks in the world. They have a bigger role. They have to find a greater path for themselves to be able to not end the world.
It's a pretty big problem to have.
Yeah.
Not when you're talking about, okay, they're going to tackle a problem they've never tackled before in season 2, my mind immediately went to time travel because it's not really something you can prepare yourself for. So you said you want to go straight to the Civil War. Is that just an era that's always kind of interested you, that part of history? Or
yeah, I've always been a fan of reading about and watching movies and documentaries about the Civil War, and it was just always an era that really interested me, and to be able to start off these time travel stories in the Civil War era was kind of a I hate to use the phrase dream come true for me, but it really was, to be able to know that I had a story to be able to tell with these 3, soon to be 4 characters, and have it told in a Civil War era. Just even as a writer, it was amazing to be able to have a story and know that it was a strong story, and not just doing it to do it, but also as an artist to be able to draw the all the uniforms and the horses and the fun and the all the stuff that you would see. Some of it not so fun, some of it very powerful and painful. It was a great challenge for me that I was really happy that I undertook it, because it's coming out really well.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just saying that's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, when you do a time travel story too, the cool part is, like, you can go anywhere with it, right? I mean, you could take them anywhere. So, is there a limit, or like, there's only? I mean, you talk about them being the start of the universe, so it's like you could go as far back as that, right? I mean, you could go caveman style. You could do anything, right?
Yeah, like I said, they come to realize that they were the kind of like the catalyst for the Big Bang, and I explained it all in more detail in the story, obviously. And they come to realize that they have been reincarnated to life after life after life after life. They started off as amoebas and kept growing and changing through millions of years, and they always were able to find each other because of this bond that they have of being the 4 entities that essentially started the universe. So as they start to time travel, they keep going back and back and back, further back, for them to be able to realize where they came from, and kind of regain those memories, to be able to think on a grander scale rather than just their problems that they have in their lifetime that we see them start as. They start to grow a bigger understanding of the universe as a whole. So as they go back in time, it keeps going. They keep growing their knowledge about who they are. And eventually we do get to where they are the like Neanderthals in caveman era, 200,000 something years ago, and that's a story that catapults them into the next big event in their life, to be able to reach that level of understanding.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. The book's really great. I'm so glad it keeps going, and they have a really grand plan for it. So, outside of the Offspring, you have some other stuff you're working on too. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, we're really pumping out some one-shots the last couple months. Nice. I wanted to make sure that I was able to flex some muscles other than just an ongoing series, and because I'm a big fan of multiple different kinds of genres. So at the beginning of 2020, before all the weirdness started, I was able to get out my first one-shot called Shady Lady, and it is very much like a thriller noir, like Alfred Hitchcock, that kind of story. It's what it is. It's a story of a very normal, no superpowers, no anything like that, a very normal young lady who is kind of thrust into these situations that are very contemporary. It happens now in New York City. and she keeps getting thrust into these situations, similar to situations you might have maybe seen on the news, where people are sticking that they shouldn't be, or there are bigger socioeconomic issues that have been happening in the United States over the last few years, and it's really her story of how she confronts these issues, and also deals with issues that she has of her own. At the end of the story, you come to realize why she takes on these social issues, why she feels the need to be able to go in and help where she can and when she can, because she has dealt with some of these issues firsthand. And you come to find out through the story why she's doing the things she's doing, and how she is able to give herself some solace by the end of the story.
That was very cool. It's a lot different other route than what you took with the Offspring, it sounds like.
Yeah, no big universe changing anything. It's a very very intimate story of one woman's kind of journey of helping other people while helping to fix herself also.
Very cool.
And then I have another one shot that came out at the end of summer called I Won't Stop, and it's again a more shifting genres. It's a more traditional superhero story, but I wanted to do, if I was going to do a superhero story, I didn't just want to do a normal fight 'em up kind of story. I wanted to do something that was a little bit different, a little bit more psychological. So I have a Superman type character named Spiral, who goes through an event in his life that completely shatters him, changes his outlook on the world, changes his outlook on what he thinks his role is in the world. So what he does is he decides that he does not want anyone to feel the pain that he's feeling because of this loss that happens to him. So he decides that he is foregoing alter ego, he is foregoing job, he is foregoing friendship, he is foregoing any kind of personal relationships or personal life of his own. His job, he feels, is just to save everybody from everything that will ever happen to them. So the idea of I Won't Stop is he is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, saving people. And it goes through the story, and it kind of starts to point out the psychological and the physical ramifications of that kind of decision in this Superman type character. Mm-hmm. And by the end, because of his kind of psychological and physical deterioration, the name of the character is Spiral, so you can kind of get an idea of where he's going. He makes a decision, or better yet, does something where makes a decision that he would not have made if he was really in his right mind. That the way that he perceives himself and the way that other people perceive him. So it's more of a psychological than a bang bang kapow punch 'em up superhero story.
I think everybody always talks about how Superman's weak to kryptonite, but the one thing that I like that's not explored enough with him is he can't be everywhere all the time, and a lot of the times he has that internal conflict, and they kind of shrug it off of like, oh, I learned to tune that out, or I've learned to deal with it. But I mean, like, how do you weigh those things of like, oh, there's a family in a car crash and like a ship sinking, like how do I weigh those options at the same time, So I always wish those types of things were explored more, like just like the psychological ramifications of it, because he's stronger than the average human, but his mind should be the same, he suffers the same turmoil, I would say. But that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely that the idea of with great power comes great responsibility. Where does the responsibility end? Where does the individual who has the power draw the line on where their responsibility ends? And that's really taking that idea and kind of turning it on its head a little bit. There's a couple characters like Justice League type characters in there that try to talk some sense into him, and he says, if you're not helping me, get out of the way. Just don't bother me unless you're helping me. Then great, I could use all the help I can get. But if you're trying to get me to stop, I will not stop. So get out of my way.
Well, and as if you're watching the video, you can tell from behind you, and as we know from previous interviews, I know you're a huge Superman fan. It's always that idea of like Superman. part of what makes Superman Superman is the fact that he's an alien from another world and all of that, but like his humanity is what keeps him grounded, and like going to a job every day and like having family and friends and like doing things that people do are really what keep him going. And so that idea of like, screw all that, I'm not doing it, and just going to be Superman 24/7. It's like, yeah, it's something that isn't explored enough in mainstream comics. So it's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I came up with this concept, this idea, and it's I'm not saying that that it's 100% originally my idea, because they have dealt with psychological ramifications of superheroes. But I think the way that I do it is a little bit different than what most people would see in a superhero story.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what else you got? I'm excited.
So I had one more. I had one more one shot come out in 2020, and it's a little bit lighter fare. It's a story called "Will Aliens Do My Homework?" And as a teacher, I'm an elementary art teacher, so I teach kindergarten art. And I was walking through the classroom one day with, I believe I had second graders in my room, and they were drawing, and we were talking, and everything was great. Music was playing, and they were all doing their job. And the thought popped in my head: what would I do if aliens were to attack right now? How would I be able to handle that situation? That's where my mind goes for whatever reason. So by the end of the day, I had an outline of a story of what would happen if aliens were to attack the school while I was teaching, and what I would do with these 13, 14, in some cases 18. So as I was writing the story and really fleshing it out, I decided that I'd up the age a little bit, so it's and make the teacher female, just because I really wanted to separate it from my own experience, from it being me to being an every teacher in every kind of situation, an everyday teacher that would kind of laugh and chuckle at some of the inside teacher jokes that I put in there. So this female art teacher has about 12 fourth graders in her classroom, and aliens attack, and she figure out a way to keep these fourth graders safe. So it's a story of her getting from point A to point B without any of these kids getting harmed or injured, and without her getting harmed or injured in the process. And it's one of those stories. A lot of my one shots, there'll be a lot more there. The story will come to a nice conclusion after 24 pages, but it can also go in a million different directions. If people want to see more from these characters, there's definitely a lot more there in all these one shots that I put together. So they in the story, but you also know that there's so much more story there with this teacher, with these kids, with this alien abduction, aliens attacking this school. But it really was a little bit more of a fun story for me to be able to kind of flex my muscles, be able to bring my two worlds together of teacher and comic book creator, and be able to use some of those insights that I have. And anybody who would ever read it that has ever worked with kids would laugh at some of the situations and some of the things that, as a teacher, even in the weirdest of circumstances, kids are going to be kids, and kids are going to do those things that you're like, please stop, because we're being attacked by aliens right now. You need to run.
Yeah.
You need to stop talking about it. Right. Run. So it was a really fun story to write and to draw, and I've got a lot of great feedback from it. It's probably the most lighthearted story that I've produced so far, but it's still got some of those deep underpinning meanings and concepts behind it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish aliens attacked when I was in school. I'd probably be constructive and do something. Awesome. Yeah, those. Like, if you were to tell me those are the three genres, they're also wildly, far from each other as far as what you're writing, and it's like you said, you're like flexing different muscles here. It's got to, these start off as ideas, like you said, but the way you go about writing them, it's got to feel a little different each time, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I try to make sure that I look at it from especially through the arcs and the characters. Try to look at it from a different way. These are all different people with different experiences. They will handle it a lot differently. So I try to make sure that I do like a choose your own adventure in my own brain. as I'm writing it down, they have 3 choices here. This is choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. I did choice 2 a couple one shots ago, so I'm not going to do choice 2. So that's kind of how I work. I kind of figure out ways to be able to change up not only the genre and the characters, but also give these characters by the end of the 24 issues, you kind of feel that they're a whole person. That they especially the main characters, that one main protagonist, that they're a whole person, that you could see them on the street and know who they are. So that's one of the things I try to make a cohesive thing throughout all my one shots. But yeah, definitely putting stories together for each different genre is definitely flexes different parts of the brain.
Awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah. I mean, what else? Any more one shots or?
I have a couple in development right now.
Okay.
I have one that I'm hoping to put out in spring, and it is one that I came up with a concept, but a buddy of mine, and I'm going to put more of that stuff on Facebook. A buddy of mine, I called him up and I said he's a big horror guy. Ooh. And I called him up and I said, I've got this idea for like a Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street type slasher story.
Nice.
And I kind of walked him through what I was thinking, and by the end of our half-hour conversation, we had an outline, we had plot points, and we had dialogue, and we had things ready to go. So awesome. It's again a shift in genres, and this is probably going to be the scariest, bloodiest one shot that I've put out so far, and it's called the Sock Hop Killer. Okay. And what it is the the girls in the poodle skirts and the sock hop and the picture Sandy at the end of Grease.
Yep.
Like that kind of as a serial killer.
Okay. Wow.
So cool. I've developed a pretty cool mask. You got to have some kind of mask or some kind of like recognizable thing. So right. I really think while the concept isn't the most original in the world, I think the main character, the villain, is such a 180 twist on what you normally see in this kind of situation. I think it's going to be real fun and people are going to enjoy it.
That's awesome.
It's really cool, man. Like I think this is the 3rd time we've had you on here, and I feel like every time there's usually about a year in between. There's just so much content that comes out, and it's great to see that you can continue to put more and more great stuff out. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you're just pumping all this stuff out, and everything's a new and intriguing idea too. And I think, like you said, it definitely helps doing these one shots, right? I mean, because you don't like write yourself into a continuity. You can kind of just do whatever you want with these characters for now, right? Like you said.
Yeah, that was one of my goals with the one shots. Is I had so many ideas, and I was trying to make them 4-issue miniseries or 100+ page graphic novels, so once I decided that smaller contained stories was a better option for me in the way that I want to write and the kind of stories that I want to publish, it just all kind of started coming together. The Sock Hop Killer is the first one shot coming out in 2021, and I plan on getting at least 2 more out by the end of the year, while still putting out the Offspring probably every 3 months in a realistic world. I love creating content. I love being able to put different kind of stories out there, have people see them and go, oh, I've never quite seen that before. If I get that, then I take it as a high compliment, because it's in this industry. You want to, I think for me to be able to stand out, it's got to be things that are familiar, yet turned on their head so much that people go, oh, I understand the concept, but I've never seen it like this before. And hopefully they'll want to read it.
Awesome.
So when you put out these one shots, just real quick, kind of a little bit behind the scenes, like, are they traditional, like 20, 22 pages? Or are you doing these in kind of a more extended, like 48, 96, so on and so forth pages?
I try to stick with between 23 to 25 pages.
Okay.
Just because I know the way I work. I'm writing and drawing and lettering and formatting and covers and everything. Yeah. So I know that I can get a 24-page one shot out in 2 months. I've gotten to the point now where I know if I'm working on a one shot, I've got the next one ready to go thumbnailed and ready to go. So it's kind of a continuous cycle of, all right, this one's done, it's in the bag, I'm very proud of it, but it also gives me a chance to be able to stop and be able to say, this one isn't quite coming out the way I want it to come out. It gives me a chance to be able to stop and retool if I need to. My plan isn't just to get it out fast. I want to get it out good also. So I want it to be something where people look at it and say, oh yeah, this is the story that I wanted to tell, but also visually compelling, visually interesting, and also a story that people want to read more about.
And have you thought about doing like a collected, like the many stories of David Whalen, like, you know, kind of thing where you put all these together in one trade or something like that?
I have with the Sock Hop Killer. That would be the full one shot in less than 2 years. So along with the Offspring that I'm putting out. So my plan is they come out black and white in print and digital. So my plan for every 4 one shots that I put out, to color them and put them out in trade as a colored trade of the 4 issue miniseries. Actually, I already have the covers, the cover for one shots that are going to be compiled into a trade ready to go. It's just a matter of getting it there. You know, anybody in this industry knows that it is time consuming. So quick but quality is always my mantra. But I also need to make sure that I tuck my kids in bed at night. That I don't fall behind on my day job. That my wife knows that I remember her name from time to time. So it really has been a juggling act for these few years of self-publishing. But quite honestly, it's been really fun. And my kids and my wife support me 100%. And I couldn't do it if they didn't. So I'm really lucky to be able to multiply my time and not really have to divide it too much.
Very cool.
Well, it's something that's not talked about enough, especially with like up and coming artists and everything. But there's a certain amount of like, it's good enough. It's never going to be perfect. It needs to be good enough. And I think that's something that really, like, a lot of artists, especially, a lot of professional artists know this. I'm talking to the up and comers right now. Where like, it's something you need to learn. Like, you can always tweak, you can always change, you can always make it better. But at a certain point, it's got to hit the printer. Like,
exactly. Yeah, there's been times where I would be going through an issue and I'll be on page 12, and I'm kind of looking back, remember my continuity and all that kind of stuff, and I go, page 5, panel 3, I can do that panel better. So I'll take a few seconds and I'll come up with some different things and different ways to be able to do it. If it doesn't happen in a half an hour to be able to fix that panel, then I walk away from it. Usually the inspiration for a better panel comes to me fairly, eventually. But it really is that you have to let go of the idea that it's going to be hanging in the Louvre one day. It's not. Yeah. While being proud of your work is definitely essential, you will also have to know if you want to get sequential pages out. Does it tell the story? Is everything in proportion? Is your perspective correct? Is there enough detail in the background and enough detail in the picture to help move the story forward? It is. Let's keep going then.
Yeah, awesome.
And then if something, before the book comes out, if something pops into your brain while you're sleeping, then it's a better way to be able to communicate that idea on that panel, then by all means, get it done.
Makes sense. Yeah. Get it on there. Great.
So, yeah, so much awesome stuff, man. It's always great having you on, talking about what's new, what you're going through. If people out there want to follow you further or go purchase some of these books, where can people go to find you?
So you can always find me in links to all my books on correcthandedcomics.com. And you'll find preview pages. You'll find all of our one-shots, all of our ongoing series, our 100-plus page graphic novel, our 4-issue miniseries. You can also find I do a lot of my communicating through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my Facebook is at Correct Handed Comics. Instagram and Twitter is correct_handed. So usually if you type in Correct Handed, you'll find me. I'll pop up my big hand logo that says Correct Handed Comics on it will pop up. And there was one more. Oh, you know what I've really found has been, and this is a great thing for, like we were talking about, the up-and-comers and people who are kind of just getting into it. I've gotten a lot of response and a lot of feedback, positive, from TikTok.
Oh.
Believe it or not. I know I'm an old man. I said my daughter is 12, and she's constantly doing the dances and TikToking. Even when her phone's her. So I was looking at it one day, and I said, "This would be just really." So I made 10 or so videos, just fun, nothing like funny stuff, showing off some of my books, and immediately got hits. Immediately got people asking me, to give them more information. So even an old man like me could work on TikTok.
Well, I mean, you brought up, you said TikToking, and I'm like, oh, is it a verb now? Because I must have missed that.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
I guess so. It made sense. I mean, it sounded right. I don't know.
I think anybody has a parent with a
Yeah, Chris is trying to start.
We gotta get up on this TikTok.
There we go.
I think any parent will say, at one point in the last couple of years has yelled out, "Will you stop TikToking and eat your dinner?"
Yep.
And I'm sure that has happened in most households in America.
Awesome. Well, thanks, David. We love having you on, and love to have you back. When you get these Offspring season 2 out, and you're always welcome.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on again.
Yep.
And I have a great time every time I'm here. I can't wait for the next time we get to talk to each other, and hope maybe less than a year this time.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we're here.
Well, maybe we'll be able to see each other in person this year, since things might open up at some point.
That'd be great.
Let's hope for the best.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man.